Oh yeah, is it Saturday already? Have we made it through yet another week of Star Wars news? And my God, do we have a good one today. More Ahsoka Season 2 leaks I know, they just keep on coming. I don't know what to tell you. Clone Wars flashbacks. Ariana Greenblatt back as young Ahsoka. Ewan McGregor, yeah, that's right. Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Hayden Christensen, of course, coming back to play Anakin Skywalker. We also got some leaked images of the father for Ahsoka Season 2. And we got to talk about Bob Iger. The CEO of Disney is leaving. Who is going to be his replacement? How this affects the Star Wars universe. And Daisy Ridley gave us an update on the Rey movie. Yeah, that's right. We got a lot to get into and not a lot of time. So without further ado, let's dive into all of it. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing on this fine Saturday afternoon? So yes, my voice sounds horrible. I'm aware. You don't have to rub it in my face. I know it sounds terrible, but you won't have to listen to just me for the entire stream, which is fan-frickin-tastic. So I got us a guest today. You know, I had to crawl up the chain to get one of the best in the business around to come on our live stream, okay? You know how many strings I had to pull? At least one. At least one. So you guys don't have to listen to my horrible sounding voice this entire live stream. So for the, I guess, third time in channel history, we have a guest today. So let me set the tone for you, okay? Coming from one of the greatest YouTube channels out there, Explore the Force, one of many members of this legendary, I guess, worldwide podcast, if you will. Introducing, for the first time ever on a live stream for a guy who loves Star Wars, for the people who love Star Wars, introducing, from Explore the Force, Jimmy. Jimmy, how we doing?
Good, man. Good. Awesome to be here. I tell you.
No,
Tell
I
you
was
what,
going to
if
say,
you
chat, can we hear Jimmy? That's the biggest question. Can we hear Jimmy, chat, please? And thank you. Go ahead.
I was gonna say if you want to give up this YouTube thing, you can go on and be the hype man for like boxing rings and things like that. Some boxing match hype man.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, if I could ever keep my voice. So we're gonna have a fun one today. They can hear you, which is fan-frickin-tastic. We're gonna talk Ahsoka Season 2 leaks. We're gonna talk about it all. And yeah, so it's great to have you so I don't have to talk as much. And we can save the people from listening to my horrible voice. Now, I always start the stream by saying hi to everybody in the chat, so we're gonna do that same thing right now, and then we'll do that fun stuff as well. But let's start with a scale of 1 to 10 here for you and for the chat. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Ahsoka Season 2? Because we're gonna be talking about a lot of Ahsoka Season 2 today, and the chat, of course, knows how I feel about Ahsoka, and yeah. But for the chat and for Jimmy, scale of 1 to 10, Ahsoka Season 2.
Well, probably a 9. As we get closer, I love the first season. One of my favorite things in Star Wars, and in getting all this and kind of diving into the lore, I cannot wait to see what Dave has in store for us. We got to see some stuff at Celebration. They got me really fired up. So yeah, I'm really excited for this show. Cannot wait.
Love it. All right, and with that, let's say hi to everybody in the chat. Haja, what is up? Kyler, how we doing? Holly in the building. Steve, what is up? Manda United, how we doing? Raheem's World, what's up? It's been a while. How we doing? Darth Vader is actually in the house. So is Max Rebo, which is great to see. Brandon Baker, how we doing? Nathan, what is up? The Ultimate Benson, what is up? Robert, how we doing? Darth Plagueis lives in the building. All right, if I missed you, you know the deal. Just yell at us in the chat, and let's give everybody a nice little...
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Okay, that's better. All right. Cheapers. Okay, let's start with the leaked images, shall we? And actually, before we even do, let's start with the poll. Let's start with a poll. Okay. Do you think we are getting Clone Wars flashbacks in Ahsoka Season 2? Yes or no? Do you think we're getting Clone Wars flashbacks? And I'll ask you in a second, Jimmy, so don't answer that question just yet. And let's take a look at this. So we got some leaked images, and we got more of, I guess, a leaked idea or concept. But let's take a look at this first, because this was posted online. Again, this is not a official image by any means. This is an edit. But this right here. Seeing just this image of Anakin, Obi-Wan, and young Ahsoka, Ariana Greenblatt from Season 1, standing next to each other, got me so damn excited. And it reminded me from these leaks that we've gotten all of 2025 of how we know for a fact Hayden Christensen will be in Season 2. That's confirmed. But the rumor being that Ariana Greenblatt will be back, and so will Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he has specifically been very vocal about wanting to come back, wanting to play Obi-Wan again, and specifically wanting to wear the Clone Wars armor. Now, there's plenty of opportunities for us to get Clone Wars flashbacks in Ahsoka Season 2. Mortis gods, how to explain that, all this craziness that could be happening on Peridia, how you're going to explain that with flashbacks, at least for the normie fans. And we got Clone Wars flashbacks, or I guess they weren't really flashbacks, but in Season 1. So, all that to say, Jimmy, Clone Wars flashbacks in Ahsoka Season 2?
I don't see if those rumors are true, then absolutely. I mean, I'm here for it. Those were awesome to see that. It made me want a television show, a streaming show about the Clone Wars live action. And to get to see Obi-Wan Kenobi in that armor, I mean,
yeah,
he's one of my favorite characters. To get to see that come live action would be insane. And like you said, like, it'd be a great way to explain Mortis to people who haven't watched the animated stuff. Because, you know,
yeah,
for us, we're like, oh, yeah, we know all these things. But a lot of people who are going to watch Disney Plus are going to be like, what is this? And so you tie that with people you know, and I think that would be phenomenal just to have them back together, like to see them live action. I mean, I got goosebumps just talking about it right now. So
yeah, yeah. It is such a cool concept. And as you mentioned too, to explain to, I guess, the normie fans, for lack of a better word, to explain to those people who the Mortis gods are. It's such an unbelievably complex concept that takes like 4 episodes of the Clone Wars, and we barely even scratched the surface in those 4 episodes. So for people who haven't watched the Clone Wars, they're going to be so lost and so confused. And even for people who have, if we're getting like Abaloth and all these other crazy, crazy legends characters and all this different ideas brought to life, they're going to need some insane amount of explanation. And I know you're always in the chat, Jimmy, but we talk about this all the time in the chat and in these live streams. How on earth are they going to fit all of this stuff into 8 episodes?
Yeah, I don't know, because I mean, you have just that in itself is probably 8 episodes, just what's happening on Peridia. And then you're not even mentioning the stuff that's supposed to be happening back in the regular galaxy with Thrawn and Akbar and what the Nightsisters and all that, and Ezra. So maybe we're going to get some longer episodes. I mean, that's the only way. I mean, fingers crossed that they don't sit there and like stick to a model. They kind of do a Stranger Things workaround where they have a story they want to tell and they don't worry about the run times maybe. But I don't know. I mean, I'm nervous about that, but that is a lot to jam in and a lot to try to catch the normie fans up on, because I mean, that's complicated stuff. People who know it, I mean, argue about it and what happened, what didn't happen. So then you're going to introduce Abaloth to it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole nother level, because I mean, most fans, if you haven't read Legends, you have no idea what's going on there. So, I mean, there's a lot to unpack. And, you know, if you say they split it evenly, like 4 episodes, you know, on the average, so all 8 episodes will have everything going on. But I mean, that's 4 episodes to try to jam all that stuff into. I just don't know how that's going to work. So I'm hoping for a longer, stretched out, you know, a little bit more storytelling in these episodes. 45 minutes, maybe an hour. I mean, I would die for it. But I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
Well, Season 1 was again around that same 35 to 45 minutes per episode. It seems, yes, Season 1 was very, very, I guess, oh, we got a super chat. I'll get to that 1 second. Season 1 was very big, for lack of a better word. It introduced us to a brand new galaxy. It introduced us to new characters, Baylan Skoll, Shin Hati. It brought Grand Admiral Thrawn in. It did so much. It brought every Rebels crew member to live action, except for Zeb. And it just gave us this incredible story that was huge. So you could argue, I guess, how did they fit that in 8 episodes? And they did it. But like you said, we're talking about 2 completely separate stories. In one galaxy, it's a war in our Star Wars. In another galaxy, it's completely brand new ideas and concepts to so many people. Not just the Mortis gods, but Abaloth in a completely new galaxy. Like, that is something that's never happened in Star Wars before. Talk about new. It's something that's never happened in Star Wars before. And to explain that in less than 8 episodes is going to be so extremely difficult. That's why when I see the argument of, like, will there be an Ahsoka season 3? There almost has to be a continuation of this story just to have enough time to explain all of it and explore all of it. My question to you is, if there is Clone Wars flashbacks, if this does come to fruition, this image right here of these 3 on screen together in live action, do you think it'll be like just a retelling of the Mortis arc?
Man, I mean, those are 3 23-minute episodes. I mean, you're gonna have to sit there and pick and choose what you're showing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could. Doesn't seem like the best way to go about it, but
Yeah.
I don't know how else you do it without, I mean, a little asterisk at the bottom of the screen saying, "Hey, go check these episodes out of Clone Wars, and then come back and watch this episode because you're going to be
Yeah.
completely lost." I mean, yeah, I mean, I would think that's what's going to happen. Using that, I'm sitting here thinking about those 3 episodes in the Mortis arc, and I'm just like, what parts do you need to show? Because then you still need someone to play the father
Yep.
and the son and the daughter, and just, I mean, that in itself, like you said, I mean, that's 8 episodes of packed stuff. Or at least maybe these things are just going to be like nonstop, jam packed. As soon
Yeah.
as the credits will start, it's like, no, here we go.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, honestly, and somebody brought it up in the chat, Jeannie from Tahini said, maybe it's all just completely new scenes. It might not retell what we saw in the Clone Wars. It might just more so be there for explaining more. For example, they might not have to explain the Mortis gods at all, or maybe they do slightly, but not like too much. And they'll just do the flashbacks. They'll just show us these characters together just to explain Abaloth instead. Because as much as the Mortis gods are important to the story of Star Wars, they might not be as important to Ahsoka season 2, you know? So, like, maybe this is more so exploring and explaining Abaloth's backstory with flashbacks rather than the Mortis gods. Now, season 1 of Ahsoka did a very, very good job of, if this is your first time watching anything Star Wars, it makes sense.
Mhm.
You don't have to have watched Rebels or Clone Wars. It does help, but you don't have to. So I don't see a way that season 2 can pull that same thing off. Like with the Mortis gods and with all this stuff, I don't see a way, unless you have an entire episode of explanation for these guys. How is a fan who's never seen any Star Wars before, never seen the Clone Wars Mortis arc, gonna understand this?
Yeah, I mean, people who've seen it don't understand it, so I don't know exactly
That's
what
true.
they're, I mean, you just got, this is where you had to put your trust in Dave and his storytelling,
Yeah.
and the fact that he's been thinking about it. He got an extended amount of time because of the writer strikes. I mean, I know they're not working, but they're never stopped thinking. Maybe it gave him time. And also, what if this whole Thrawn Heir of the Empire rumors about that becoming a television show, what if that kind of turns into a streaming show? What if that turns into like the or the season 3 of this, and they can stretch it out a bit? But yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know without retelling some of those scenes, because they haven't seen Clone Wars, they haven't seen Rebels that explains it a little bit. They just seen, all they know is these 3 statues.
Yeah.
And most people aren't sitting around on a Saturday watching 2 guys talk about Star Wars.
What do you mean? Everybody does that.
So yeah, so I this will be curious as to how he pulls this off. But I think that the retelling of some of those scenes. I mean, because can you talk about it? I mean, if they just skip over those three and go straight to Abaloth, like that'll leave people like I might leave me confused.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. There's, I feel like Star Wars in the past, and I always bring up Ahsoka season 1 because it was so good at it, but just even other Star Wars in the past has been very good at explaining things without over explaining things. So I feel like if anybody can do it, it's Dave Filoni, but I feel like he can find a way to explain the Mortis gods in the simplest of terms and to get to the normie audience. In all reality, the Mortis gods are the real true purpose of Anakin's chosen one prophecy. And the idea or the concept that the Force itself has living beings attached to it is something that is just crazy to comprehend, but it is something that can be, I guess, easily explained. Because this is not like the first time we've seen Mortis gods. Like you said, the statues were at the end of season 1. There's a mural of them or a painting of them in Rebels. Like they show up over and over again. So to explain that to fans, it may be difficult, but at the same time, Ahsoka was one of the characters who was on Mortis. So she could just have a conversation with Sabine and be like, when they happen upon these statues on Peridia, be like, oh yeah, I saw those guys before. They were like, and she just explains it to Sabine while also explaining it to us as the audience. And maybe it doesn't have to take an hour of our time just explaining that stuff, but it's definitely something that needs to be explained regardless.
Yeah, because I
Because
mean, I feel like at the end of those 3 episodes, they had all lost their memories of it. So, but maybe being
actually,
on Peridia,
yeah.
maybe she can remember, maybe she has flashbacks.
Well, so me and my girlfriend Samantha, we've been watching everything Star Wars, but we watched the Clone Wars, and I thought the same thing that you just said, which was they all lost their memories. They didn't. They
Oh,
just kept it a secret. The only thing that they lost memory of was Anakin lost memory of seeing his future because he saw his future of being Vader and all
maybe
that
that's why I thought that.
when he was under like the spell of the sun or whatever. But he only forgot that. They all remember, which
Oh,
is even crazier to me because they
yeah.
didn't tell anybody, and it allows Ahsoka to remember all of that, which is very important, I guess.
Man, I need to go back and watch those episodes.
I know.
I had no
That's how
idea. Like, I really felt like that's crazy. That would make it
yeah,
simpler though to be able for it would make way more sense for Star Wars fans for, we're all I had to go back and watch that. But if she remembers it, I hope we get an explanation as why they didn't tell anybody. I mean, why
yeah,
wouldn't they have just gone running to Yoda, right? But like,
exactly. Yeah,
I would that's some plot holes there. But yeah, I think that that would make it more realistic for her to be able to like just have a flashback or telling the story, and then we're seeing things happening. And then that would make more sense to me that they're going to reenact some of the stuff that we've seen in the Mortis arc already.
yeah. And to your point too, um, there's so much, like, I forgot that exact same detail. There is so much Star Wars to prepare yourself, I suppose, for Ahsoka season 2,
Mm.
that if you want to be like fully ready to watch it and know everything, you're gonna have to go back and watch the Clone Wars and Rebels and Mando and all this stuff to prepare for season 2. They know that people can't do that. People that aren't as crazy as myself and you and people here today. Not everybody is crazy enough to do that to prepare for season 2. So they're gonna have to somehow, without just again regurgitating all the same information over and over and over again, they have to toe the line of explaining but not over explaining, making it easy for normie fans to understand but not dumbing it down for the hardcore fans. It's such an impossible task, but what's crazy is they did it so well in season 1. And season 1 ends with Morai, this owl,
Hmm.
on Peridia. So it's not just the Mortis gods, but that owl is there too. And to us, Morai is still a mystery. We don't really know the true purpose of the owl. But to a normie fan, they're like, what the F is this owl doing here? Like, what's happening here?
Well, even those flashbacks of the Clone Wars, I mean, if you're just a person who just watches the movies, that was new,
Yep.
and that was easily explained. Like you knew what was going on. I always say, like, you didn't need to know Star Wars to watch it. It makes it way more fun the more you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're right though. They did an excellent job. It's hard for me to look at things from someone else's perspectives. I mean, I think that's a problem for all Star Wars fans, is
Yeah,
looking at
yeah.
it from other people's perspectives. But if you come into this not having watched the animated series, then you've never seen the Clone Wars. You're like, what is this? But they did it, like you said, Dave and those guys did a really good job of, you know, it's a flashback, it's wartime. Here's the
Yeah.
Clone Wars kind of thing.
True. Yeah, they don't specifically explain the Clone Wars. They don't even specifically explain that Anakin had a Padawan. To people who haven't seen the animated show, you don't know that. You're like, who is this girl? And her master was Anakin? How is that even possible? So, yeah, you're absolutely right. My question to you, I guess, is they used the World Between Worlds in season 1
Mm.
to explain the Clone Wars, to explain Ahsoka's backstory and the fact that she was the apprentice to Anakin, and used it as a plot device to bring Anakin back. Do you think we're going back into the World Between Worlds in season 2?
Well, I tell you what. So when we're at Celebration, I think you've shown this photos on some of your streams too, when they're standing outside that big doorway, and I
Yep.
feel like it's going to be an entrance to it. But they found one in Rebels. They found that entrance to the World Between Worlds. So what if this is that entrance, or that just takes you to that plane that exists on? So I would think that we're kind of gonna, if we don't specifically go to World Between Worlds, we're going to go to that in between kind of area where these things can exist. And that's, we're getting into the fantasy side of things. You're looking at like Dungeons and Dragons type stuff or whatever,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
fantasy and magic and stuff, which I'm here for it. But I mean, for normal fans, it would probably be easier if you just reintroduce, like, hey, this is a gateway to the World Between Worlds. We've seen it with you've seen it once in season 1. Here it is again. You don't have to hurt your brain too much, and they can jump into one of those portals, because it has all those different places you could go.
Yeah.
They could, you know, like they did in the animated series, you could go into those portals and find what you're looking for. Who knows what Balin's going to be doing with all of it. Be interesting. Would be
Yeah,
very cool if maybe Balin had a visit too, or something like that. There's some
yeah,
kind
that
of
would be
weird
cool.
flashbacks, or he knows more than he should, for what reason.
Yeah, that's actually a great question. How does Balin Skull know all this information? Like, that's a big, enormous question mark going into season 2. How does Balin Skull know all this? Who is calling out to him? Obviously, that's the biggest question of all. But Balin Skull's backstory is one that we know almost nothing about. So
And
that'll be very, very cool to see.
and that's another thing too. Like, you got to give Dave and those guys credit, because like Balin, I love Balin Skull. Like, there's episodes I can go on the YouTube and I'll just watch this guy. I don't know who did it, but he cut like all of his lines.
Oh, yeah.
It just I'll sit there and just watch these lines and his delivery. R.I.P. to Ray, but and no pressure on poor Rory, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that you sit there and you forget about, they introduced Shin and Balin into that show, and it's like they've always been part of Star Wars, and they hadn't been until that very first scene we saw them. So again, putting your faith in Dave and those guys and the writers, I think that's gonna be pretty awesome. Regardless of what happens, I think it's gonna be amazing.
True. Now, I'm going to ask you this because I brought up this concept, I think last stream. It was at some point this week. Um, the idea that we're going to Abaloth, the idea that we're going to this glimmer of light at the mountaintop that we saw at the end of season 1, and that there's, again, like shown on the screen right now, this doorway to these giant droid-like creatures that are inside and whatever. We assume, and for valid reasons, we assume that Abaloth is this being calling out to Balin Skull, that she is the end-all, be-all, because she's a character who's powerful enough to end this cycle between good versus evil, and she has the connection to the Mortis gods. It all just lines up perfectly. So my question to you is, in the Clone Wars, when they go to Mortis, they go to a different realm, outside
Mhm.
the physical realm. Do you think when Ahsoka or Balin or whoever goes to free Abaloth from this prison, or wherever she is, they have to go to a different realm, or even go back to Mortis? Or do you think they will leave the physical realm again in this second season?
Yeah, I kind of assume they would. Like, they're kind of when we see in Mortis, I always believed that they were in a different realm, like they were not on a physical place. And I
Yes.
just think that, I know we have statues of them at Peridia, but I don't think that that's Mortis. I think that they know, this is a planet that the Nightsisters have been on. You can't forget about that. So the magic, who are they worshiping or whatever? Like, we don't know anything about the sect of Nightsisters, like where their power comes from or who they're worshiping and stuff. I absolutely think that they're probably they go into that gateway, if that exists, and they go in there, they go into the world between the worlds, that's going to take them into this plane where I think you could find the father, the son, and the daughter still there. Like, they kind of they ran their gambit, or their sting
Yeah.
on Anakin, and that happened for Anakin and Kenobi and for Ahsoka. But then when a new crew comes in there, is it like it's going to reset, and then they're going to be challenged in the same kind of way? Does that make sense?
Huh.
Like,
No, that does make sense.
it's
That
kind
that
of
would
like
be interesting.
a force locust or whatever you want to say, where they're going to
Yeah.
kind of go in there and they're going to have their challenge, and the force is going to show them and challenge them and see if they're worthy or not, I guess. And then they may just
Yeah.
ramp it up with dropping someone like Abaloth, who's knocking on the door from the other side. Balin's trying to open that. They're trying to stop them. It could be nuts. I mean, just
I mean, yeah.
and
It
that's what I think Star Wars needs. Is Star Wars needs to break the mold a little bit of just doing the same thing over and over and over again. Look kind of like Marvel has done with, just different kind of genres and
yeah.
stuff like that. Introduce some of that lore, have some fun with it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you just got me ridiculously hyped up because that's the idea. Like, Ahsoka, just as a show as a whole, is so different than everything else. Like, with the Mandalorian, you kind of know what you're gonna get. It's a bounty hunting thing. He's got the
Mhm.
child. Like, it's a mission of the week type thing for the most part. He's fighting the remnant of the Empire. It's cool, but it's been done before. And with all the other stuff too, with the Book of Boba Fett and the criminal underworld, it's a lot of Clone Wars stuff, and even with Maul Shadow Lord, which I'm really excited for. But it's very similar to what's come and what goes before. Now, Ahsoka is very different, and people tend to attach themselves to that, and so was Andor. In a different way, it was more grounded and less lightsabers, and Ahsoka's the opposite. It's more crazy and lightsabers and Force lore and all that. But it is different, and as you said, people get sick of the same old, same old. So different and bending the boundaries of what Star Wars is and isn't is what people want. They don't want the same thing over and over again. That's what you saw with the sequels, and people really, really were against that,
Yeah.
especially with like The Force Awakens.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know about you, but like for me, like I'm excited for Mando and Grogu movie, but I'm
Yeah,
more excited for Starfighter because I have no idea, because we know, similar to Andor, that no matter what happens in the Mando and Grogu movie, like they all kind of have to go away eventually so that the sequels can happen.
yeah,
But then you get Starfighter, who's brand new. And I know we're getting lightsabers and Tom Cruise and all these great things in
yeah,
there.
yeah,
But the hype for me a little bit is a little bit more excited for Starfighter because I don't know what's going to happen. It was like kind of like watching Moon Knight for Marvel. Like I had never seen that
yeah,
character, and it was so exciting every week because you just had no idea what was going to happen. And as Star Wars fans, how long has it been since people like us and everyone in the chat have not known what's going to happen? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
introduce new stuff, and Dave's going to take it in a direction that, some of us are going to love, some of us are going to question, whatever, but you're not going to know from week to week what's going to happen. And I think that's super exciting for Star Wars and Star Wars fans. I'm
I
pumped
could
for it.
not. Yeah, I'm excited. Anything new is exciting. When you look at like some of the best Star Wars content, even like you just said, The Mandalorian and Grogu, the reason The Mandalorian was so successful was because it took those risks. It was something very, very new. First ever live action show, introduced Grogu, a baby version of Yoda's species. It
Mhm.
was something we'd never seen before. After 3 seasons, it becomes something that you've seen over and over again. And the hype for the movie, it's like you said, you're more excited for something new later down the line because you already kind of know what to expect from The Mandalorian and Grogu. I think with The Mandalorian and Grogu movie, the little information that we know of the actual plot of the movie is what's going to be the big surprise and big like shift and whatever that'll make that movie really, really popular and good. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. We could be getting a trailer,
Next week, this weekend, right?
yeah,
Or
like
no,
8 days
next
from
weekend.
now at the Super
Yeah.
Bowl. Yeah, so we're getting really close to something big for that movie as well. But let me get to the super chat that happened a little bit ago so we don't forget about it. Darth Plagueis lives the very generous $5 holla. I appreciate that quite a bit. Says, what are the chances we actually see Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan in season 2? Either way, can't wait. I appreciate the super chat. what are the chances? So like out of 100, I'd say with Anakin it's 100%. We know that for a fact. We don't know if that's current day Anakin in Force Ghosts, which we could talk about Force Ghosts till the cows come home because we don't know anything about them. And how is Anakin able to be a Force Ghost at the end of Season 1? Did they actually see him at the end of Season 1? Why doesn't he help Luke? Why doesn't he help Kylo Ren? Why doesn't he help anybody? That's a different conversation, I suppose. Ewan is an interesting one. I'd say I'm around 60% sure that he'll show up, just because I don't feel like Kenobi Season 2 is going to happen. And if they want Ewan to come back, this is where you do it. But what do you think, Jimmy?
Yeah, I hate to say this. I'm kind of a 50-50 split here because,
Yeah.
I mean, I know they filmed it over in England, so they were easily been able to get him there without us knowing and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
My heart says, yes, let's go 100% that he's showing up. But my head says, they had to pay him a lot of money to do the Kenobi series.
True.
And we know from Nightsister's not showing back up, they weren't shelling out the bucks unless they had to shell out the bucks to get Kenobi to come back. So that might be
Yes.
it. But yeah, I'm kind of a 50-50 split here because you don't necessarily need him because
Yeah.
you could tell that story without him, but would it be as impactful, you know? So I hate to say 50-50 because that seems like I'm copping out, but that's kind of where I'm at. Like my heart says 100%, but my brain says 50-50. So
Yeah. No, that absolutely makes sense. I just think it will be like a Captain Rex cameo from Season 1 when they do the World Between Worlds stuff, and Rex is just on the Battle of the Siege of Mandalore, and he's like, let's go, or whatever, like that. Something small, but something like something big for fans, like something to get excited about, seeing Ewan back, seeing him in the Clone Wars armor, but it's not like this lasting 20-minute scene of him being there. It's probably just going to be something that comes and goes pretty quickly in either a flashback or some sort of World Between Worlds type thing where we get flashbacks, like, for lack of a better word. Yeah. Somebody... No, they wouldn't deepfake him. No, absolutely not. And yes, Jan, you did win the giveaway on Thursday. Hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, wherever, and we'll get that out to you as soon as possible. Or as soon as you hit me up. Okay. Let's take a look at the leaked image for a second here. So that was just the, again, rumors that's been popping up all over the place of Ewan being back and all that greatness. But this was the leaked image that we got for today from, again, Morai the Messenger. But this is our leaked image. Now, can you see it, Jimmy, or no?
I'm looking for it. I have a
Okay,
little bit
cool.
of a delay on my screen. I got it YouTube up.
Oh, no worries.
I did see it
Okay.
on, I think, Star Wars Meg or something. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay, cool. So it's clearly the father of the Mortis gods, which is really, really cool. And you can almost kind of see that there's people next to him on either side. So you assume this is the daughter and that's the son. Again, this is not the statues that we see in Season 1. This is not like a painting on the Lothal Jedi Temple. This is something new. And it's looks to be a carving in a wall of some sort. And it almost looks like he has wings, which we'll get to in a second. But a lot of Mortis gods going on here. Now, I guess my question to you guys in the chat and to Jimmy too is, do you actually think we will see the Mortis gods? Because, like you mentioned earlier in this live stream, Jimmy, it's hard to pull that off in live action.
Yeah.
Like, very, very hard. So what if they just skip that part? They can still explain the Mortis gods, absolutely, but you don't have to see them. You can see them in statues. You can see them in drawings. But what do you think? Do you guys think we will actually see physically in live action the father, the son, and the daughter?
Man.
Yes or no?
I'm going to say no because I just thought of something. You've got the two people who have dealt with the Mortis gods in Sabine and in Ahsoka, right? Because she helped uncover and open up the gateway in Rebels. So what if you're walking up to that and she sees it, and I'm sitting here like I'm kind of looking at that from Rebels right now on my screen, and that could be a version of that carved into these mountains, and then they just kind of they could talk to us or explain to us, and then you got Sabine and Ahsoka kind of trading information. Like Ahsoka's going to be standing there like, and then we know from the first season Sabine's really good at puzzles and opening up gates.
True.
And so maybe she's like, oh, this is how I did it last time. I
Huh.
don't know. So I don't know. Like that's a way around it. Do I want to
No,
see
you're
Norse gods? Absolutely. Again, that's where
yeah.
I'm at with it. I hate to be so wishy-washy with it, but
Yeah, yeah.
you have to sit there and think about it financially. Can they tell that story without showing us those gods specifically? They could, by using those two to kind of like compare notes before they go walking into this thing, because they both could be like, whoa, I've seen these before, and then like look at each other and they're like, what? They can kind of have this conversation about face or whatever, because that could be nuts.
That would be interesting. I kind of forgot about that now that you bring that up. Like Sabine does have some sort of interaction with Mortis God. I mean, not with them specifically, but yes,
Yeah.
she's seen the artwork on the temple and all that. So it's not going to be like she's never seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
So again, speaking of explaining it all, when they come upon the statues that Balin was standing on, or they see this that we're looking at right now, she could be like, oh, like the same ones on the Lothal Jedi Temple. And like that, just one simple line explains that Sabine knows that she's seen it already, that it was on Lothal, which we saw in season 1 for normie fans. Like it does a lot just by a very simple line. But somebody brought this up earlier in the chat. I forget who it was, so shout out to you. You brought this up, so it made me think of it. Sabine is really good at the puzzles. Like you mentioned in the first season, they really put an emphasis on her figuring it out. What if she is tricked, maybe in a way, by Balin Skull or something of that sort? What if she's the one she's the only one who can open this prison, for lack of a better word? What if she's the only one who, not because she can wield the Force, not because of this, that, or the other thing, but she's the only one who can figure out the puzzle?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it would kind of be a bummer for her character as far as people who know her, because like be the same thing that the Empire did to her when she was working for when she was part of the Empire.
Yeah, but that would be on brand with her character.
Yes. And I mean, she's kind of in like a scientist in that way, where like they don't always think of the repercussions. They want to see if they can do it. They want to see the challenge. So with her mentality from the character and the animation and from what we've seen in Ahsoka season 1, she is that way. And you put something in front of her, you put a challenge in front of her, she's going to want to open it. She may not
Yeah.
even need Balin's skull to trick her into it. She may just want to do
True.
it because she thinks that she needs it, or Abaloth could start calling to her because she knows that she has what it takes to open up the gates. Or I mean, there's a lot of possibilities there, but it would make sense and fit everything we know about Sabine.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. My thing too is Sabine and Ahsoka, they have no idea what they're walking into here. They don't know what Balin Skull is looking for. They didn't hear the conversations that he had with Shin that the audience got to hear. So they have no idea. They don't know that Thrawn was running from something. They don't know that there's this big threat that Balin is there for. They just think that Thrawn up and left them behind. Like they have no idea. So when they happen upon these statues and these carvings, they're going to be like, what the hell's going on here? The only thing that they do know, because Ahsoka says at the end of season 1, is that they're supposed to be there. That's what she says, that we're supposed to be here. So like, instead of panicking because they got stranded on this unknown planet in a different galaxy, she's like, no, I got a feeling that we're supposed to be here. But she doesn't know why. She doesn't know anything. So it'll be very cool to see them, the two of them, and Hu Yang, of course, figure it out along the way in this first season, almost tracking down Balin Skull and figuring it out. As they figure it out, we figure it out as the audience too.
Yeah.
Like that'll be a way to explain it.
You have Ewing there too, who might have some kind of database on them as well. He could be giving information. I mean, who knows? He's been around for what, 25,000 years or something like that, or 5,000.
Yeah.
He's been around for a very long time. So he may have had run-ins or may have some information about it. So yeah, there's a whole lot of things that could really work out. And then you're talking about people who live this life every single day. And, and Dave So I got all the confidence, and I'm super excited now that we're talking about this too. Like I'm just like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like this could be so almost kind of an Indiana Jones adventure, maybe too, where they're trying
Yeah.
to figure things out. They're chasing Balin. They may not even know they're chasing Balin until it's too late. Who knows? Like, they may just be on their mission. Balin's on his. And then you still have Shin running around the planet as well. What's
Yeah.
she going to be up to? Like
What is
there's a
she
lot of
doing?
storylines on there.
No, I completely agree. Shin Hati, I think Shin's purpose, and I think it's true, is that she's gonna be the body that Abaloth takes over. Just because of her appearance, the white hair, the never blinking eyes, she is made to look like Abaloth, in my personal opinion. I mean, uh, I don't think Abaloth is gonna be let free, because if she does, then we're doomed. The whole galaxy is gonna be destroyed. But I think if and when she does get freed, then she will somehow take over Shin's body. Because, as you just said, Shin's purpose right now is completely unclear. We don't know what her purpose is. She's just off doing her own thing. Like, we don't know what she's up to. That could just be the reason that she's there. Why does Balin just ditch her? Like, there's a lot that needs to be explored there with that character.
Yeah, there's a ton. I mean, like you said, we have no idea. She's stuck there too. Last thing we see, she takes over that tribe of like bandits or whatever.
Yeah,
Who knows what that could lead to? Maybe they're worshipers of, of something like Abaloth or the sun. There
that
could
would
be
be
all
pretty
kinds of
awesome.
things going on. Like, because you could have the Noti being worshipers of the daughter because they're good. You could have this whole good versus evil kind of thing happening. And I mean, there's a lot of potential for this. You sit there and you think about the High Republic and how they kind of wrap things up. They needed a good, they needed a bad, and they needed someone in the middle.
Yeah,
So you kind of have that, like you said, you have that on the planet ready to go.
yeah. That's that. No, you're very, very true. Now So this was the leaked image that we got, but in connection to this, because it does look like he does have some sort of wings here, the father that is. This was brought up as well along with it. This is Clone Wars concept art yet again. We always find ourselves coming back to Clone Wars concept art. When we were looking at those giant droid creatures that are going to be on Peridia, we got Clone Wars concept art of those giant droid creatures, which were supposed to be in the Clone Wars. So now we got this, the father who was supposed to have wings. Now, in that Mortis arc, you see the son and the daughter turn into these bat-like creatures, but you never see the father do that. He doesn't ever actually have wings, and it says able to fold inside of his cape there, so it's like almost as if he always has wings and they just come out when he wants them to. But I couldn't help but notice that this concept art drawing, specifically the coloring here of this whitish, silverish, whatever you want to call it, being the front of the wings, and then this, I guess, more dark gray / black character being the back of the wings, is oh so very similar to They Fly Now. The giant droid creatures that we got, we have different versions of them, like this one, where Ahsoka is looking at this giant droid creature in the doorway, and then the two of them fighting a bunch of them in this temple-looking thing, but the They Fly Now one. So these droids, they're very Mortis God-esque, especially now that we got the concept art of the fact that the father was supposed to have wings. They must have been put there by the Mortis gods to keep Abaloth a prisoner, if that is truly what the story is going to tell us. But it almost seems as if, as Dave Filoni is pretty much known for doing at this point, he's taking old concept art and bringing it into his show. It happened with Rebels. You look at Rebels, Zeb Orrelios is concept art for Chewbacca.
Mm-hmm.
As Morgan is concept art for Jabba the Hutt. Chopper is concept art for R2-D2. There's more, but you get the point. He loves to do this. So it would make sense that he's taking Clone Wars concept art that was unused, like the Mortis gods having giant wings and flying, and turning it into what we see in Ahsoka Season 2. Now, I guess my question for you, chat, and to Jimmy is, do you think that these giant droid creatures, and again, there's at least a couple of them that we see from the concept art. Do you think that these are going to be, I don't really know how to phrase this, created by the Mortis gods? Yes, but more so, do you think they're going to have some sort of magic or force abilities themselves that they can wield? Because you have to think, let me preface it one more thing. You have to think that they are put there to protect the most important thing in the known galaxies, multiple galaxies. So they have to be powerful, very, very powerful. If a Jedi shows up, they can't be able to just wield the Force and destroy them like Luke does to the droids at the end of Mando Season 2. They have to be powerful. Yes, they're big, but they also have to be strong enough to stop a Force user from breaking Abaloth free. So do you think they have, specifically themselves, these droids, do you think they have some sort of Force ability or magic ability or something that we've never seen before in Star Wars?
I mean, my initial reaction is thinking about, was it Jedi Survivor? Is that the first one, or Fallen Order? When you're fighting those guys that protect, I think it's on Zepho. They have like that stuff in the center, and it kind of shoots out, and you got to use it against them. But they do have a
Yeah.
lot of power, and you just can't like destroy them with your lightsaber pretty easily. So it could be something like that. We've seen the magic, the green magic before.
Yep.
Why couldn't that be something that has been? Because I mean, I do think they're guarding like this temple. They're
Yeah.
there for the last line of defense if someone makes their way there. So I do think they're going to have something. I don't know if it'll necessarily be like the Force, but I could see it like being like Force magic that's like imbued in something that's on them. Kind of, you don't have to get into too much detail to explain it. We just see like green mist coming out of them or some kind of mist,
Yeah.
and like that's Force magic. That's like the Nightsister stuff, and there you go. I mean,
That's actually,
that would explain it.
yeah, that's a great point. Because in the Clone Wars, we do get to see Mother Talzin
hmm
bring Nightsisters back to life. And we've seen, I feel like season 1 was setting it up with Marok, because Marok, we don't even know if he was alive. Like, he could have just been brought to life with the Nightsister magic, because when Ahsoka kills him, all that smoke comes out. So I really think that like these droids that we're looking at here, they do have that Marok feel to them. Like they're just brought to life through the Force or through magic, which I guess is technically a different use of the Force. Um, I love that you brought up the Zepho connection, because there's so many people I know in the chat even still that think that the Zepho have something to do with this. And honestly, there was the one Zepho connection in season 1 where people translated the writing on the like temple thing that's on Peridia, and it mentioned Kujet, which was the Zepho leader. So there is some sort of reference to them there. But since you brought it up, do you think the Zepho will be explored more? Because right now they only exist in those 2 games.
Oh man, I'm gonna say probably not, unless it's like in comics or books. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, we may get a reference. We could get a mention like the Zepho done, because like they disappear. It's kind of like another one of those mysteries that they might want to try to unravel. But um, I don't. I think we could get a mention of it, like built by the Zeph. The kind of Huang could see something. I mean, you forget that we have that droid who's seen it all. He could
that's true.
recognize something and be like, "Oh, this is Zepho technology," and then who are the Zepho, and then that kind of is it. But I don't know if we're gonna ever see something like that on the big screen or even in animation. It'd be cool if we did. Again, like I think there's a lot of potential
Yeah.
there, but they got to tell the story they want to tell without giving us too many J.J. Abrams unanswered questions, kind of things.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, season 2 has to be more
We only,
answering questions
we only
than
have 8
giving more questions.
episodes.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody brought it up in the chat too, and I want to bring this up to you. In the Bad Batch, we get that weird mech suit thing that people think is Zepho. I don't know if it's confirmed or not to be Zepho. Let's see if we can look that up really quickly. But do you know what I'm talking about in season 2? That giant mech suit thing that they or not?
Oh yeah, they find with
Yeah,
Fee on that planet.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it was just a one-off episode. They bring it to
it
life,
was
and
real
it
random.
starts. it starts blasting this crazy laser
It
death
looked
beam
like
thing.
those creatures that you fight in Fallen Order. Like it
Yeah.
did look similar to
So
that.
it seemed very Zepho-esque. And that, it didn't look like our droids that we see for the concept art for season 2 of Ahsoka, but it could be on a similar, like a similar plane. Like they could be similar, like droids that have a power like that. Like these droids could have like a laser beam that comes out of their eyes or something like that. Like
Yeah.
we don't know their full purpose and
I
abilities
mean,
yet.
maybe they
Well, I was just
sacrificed themselves, as the Zepho sacrificed themselves to put Abaloth away, and that's why they've
true.
disappeared. And there's, it's kind of fun that they have these connections because the universe is thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. Who knows what could have happened prior to what we know? That's one of the reasons I want
Yeah.
Mangold's movie. I want to see I see some
Yeah.
Zepho or something, But according to Kathleen, it breaks the mold, so we'll see what happens. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So be
Yeah.
interesting.
Whenever you go back that far, you're gonna have some stuff that like shakes it up. You got the Zepho, you got the Rakatans, you got all this that
Mhm.
would be around at that time, which would make things a little more interesting, to say
And
the least.
with that much time, it doesn't hit. You can say, well, that was 1,000 years of the 25,000. You still have 24,000 more years to
Yep.
redo it, so you don't have to worry too much about it. But it would be cool if the Zepho had a bigger part, because there's a part in the High Republic where they go to this planet towards the end and they find this stuff. And I don't think they come right out and say it's Zepho, but it kind of reminded me of that when I was reading it. I think
Yeah.
George Mann's book, where they kind of get their armor and stuff like that for battling some things. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely some cool ties, and it'd be neat if there was something physical that we could attach ourselves to that help kind of create all this stuff that we're seeing.
No, absolutely. That would be really, really cool. My thing with the, I guess, Peridia Galaxy is that we know, at least what was explained to us, is that the Nightsisters come from here. And there was once this huge kingdom of Nightsisters, and now they've all been wiped out. It's all this giant wasteland. So if we're going back to, again, flashbacks, I think the flashback that would be necessary and very informative would be to show us that Nightsister kingdom in all of its glory, in its prime, and then watch it get wiped out by Abaloth or something of that sort. Abaloth could, in fact, be a Nightsister herself.
Ooh,
that
yeah.
got all this power and couldn't control it, so she could, like, the magic, the Nightsister side of things is still something that's so unexplained in the Star Wars universe that we
What's in
could get a
those
lot of
crates?
explanation. Yeah, I mean, we could get a lot of, oh yeah, what's in the crates? I think that's just Nightsisters that are
Yeah, that's
asleep
kinda what I think.
or dead.
What if the show opens up with like this whole Nightsister village or society, and then all, kind of like a Superman story, the destruction, and they're fighting, and then I mean the whole big thing is they put Abaloth away and they sacrifice. There could be, you could do so much. Like I don't know. There's
No,
so many avenues to go down on this.
I only laughed because I said the exact same thing last stream. I said, what if it's like Superman and Kal-El being sent to Earth is like the Nightsisters sending themselves to Dothamir and their whole home planet got destroyed.
Oh my gosh.
That's great
hilarious.
great minds think alike. That was perfect. No, I completely agree with you though. Like we barely scratched the surface on who and what the Nightsisters are. They're this ancient species that wields the Force differently than we've ever seen. And now they come from a different galaxy, a galaxy that's been wiped out by some mysterious thing that's been put in a prison. We don't know if it's Abaloth or not, but still, something powerful enough to wipe out an entire civilization. That's not something we've ever really seen before in Star Wars. I love me some Palpatine. I love me some Vader. They're not on this same level we're talking about here.
No. And that would be a great way to show the importance of not letting her get away. You know what I mean? Because you can sit there and you can say things, but it's just like anything. If you see it happening, you're like, oh my goodness, like this is universes, galaxies in peril. If this one thing happens and you have 3 or 4 characters running around trying to stop it or start it, it'd be kind of crazy. I mean, it'd be an impactful show because, we've been talking this whole time about that side of things. What is going on back at the main galaxy? What are they opening up on Dathomir? What's happening there? Is Thrawn, taking over because he's such a good tactician. Like this could be insane 8 episodes. And again, I think you might be onto something. Well, how did they wrap this up in just 2 seasons?
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about these leaks and specifically for the last 55 minutes of just the Peridia Galaxy. That doesn't even take into account that there's a war in our Star Wars, as Dave Filoni said, of Thrawn versus the New Republic. And that's going to be a whole other half of the story. Like all of the Ghost crew, except for Sabine, versus Grand Admiral Thrawn going to Dathomir, seeing Dathomir in live action for the first time.
That's
Like all of that is still in this second season. We've been talking about the craziness that is the Mortis gods. How on earth do you explain that? Do you bring back Ewan McGregor? Do you bring back Ariana Greenblatt and give us Clone Wars flashbacks? Abaloth in a possible different realm from the physical world and where she's imprisoned. These giant droid mechs that are never been seen before and could have an insane amount of power and be, again, unable to stop. And then you add a whole nother story to it. Like it's almost 2 different movies or shows being told in the same vein. It's very Game of Thrones-esque to me, because in Game of Thrones you had like 10 different branch stories happening at the same time, all more important than the next. And it's not until 8 seasons later when they all collide.
Yeah.
But it's very that kind of thing to me.
Well, if you think about it too, if they're making another movie, or they, the plan was to make a movie like Heir to the Empire with Thrawn, then is the focus more over here in Peridia because they're going to set things up for this, or they're going to set that show up if it's really becoming a streaming show.
Yeah.
Depends on, but there's a lot, and then you got to figure out how they're going to connect these 2 stories, because something has to bring it. It'd be really weird if they just had these 2 stories going on that didn't really have anything to do with each other. They didn't tie them in together a little bit better. But if they go to Dathomir with all that magic and they're on Peridia, there's definitely got to be some kind of connection. There's got to be some kind of cave or some kind of statue or something that brings everything together. Maybe there's a gateway there between the 2 universes or something, all kinds of stuff.
That would be crazy. Yeah, no, that would be really wild. Somebody brought this up in the chat too, said, Mike, those caskets, because you even said what's in the crates, they make noises. The dead don't make noises. I don't particularly remember them making noises, but I believe you. And what is even more fascinating is Ezra, when talking about the Great Mothers, said that Thrawn woke them up. Not brought them back to life, not resurrected them. He woke them up. So are these all just Nightsisters asleep in some sort of cryo sleep for like thousands of years? And if so, why? Why did they go to sleep? Like, who put them to sleep, and why? Like, why would they do that? There's so many questions about that. Absolutely, that makes it even crazier.
And it kind of goes back to our very beginning of this topic. They still need to explain the Nightsisters to people. Like, yeah, they're magic and Force users, but if, again, you haven't watched Clone Wars, the first time you've seen Nightsisters is Morgan Elsbeth and then the three mothers. There's some you got some explaining to do, as they would say. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, so much explanation needs to be had in such a short amount of time, which is been made very, very clear in our live stream today. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit here, because we did talk about that for an hour, which was crazy. I mean, time flies when you talk about Star Wars, and people always say, Mike, how do you live stream so much? You like 3 times a week. How do you have stuff to talk about? I'm like, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to talk about all of it. Like, not even close. So there's that. All right. So I ended this poll, which, by the way, 94% of you guys do want, or do think, not want, but think we are getting Clone Wars flashbacks in Ahsoka Season 2 in one way or another. I hope so. I hope you are all right. And we do have a ton of votes on that poll, by the way. But let's put up a new one. How should we phrase this? Do you think Bob Iger will retire next month? So, tomorrow is next month. Tomorrow is February. And the latest and greatest from the world of Disney is that Bob Iger, the CEO, who has been the CEO for many, many moons, retired, then came back again, is retiring again. Hopefully for good this time. And we are trying to figure out, well, we're talking about today who his two most likely replacements are and how this affects Star Wars, because as a Star Wars fan, he is the guy who shut down the hunt for Ben Solo. So we'll see how we'll see how that goes. So let's talk about this. We will read this article a little bit first, and then we will talk about his two most likely replacements. So while we do that, can we get some good cups full of orders in the chat, please? You know, Jimmy, I gotta say, you give me a run for my money with this mug that you got over there. Is that a Rancor?
It holds a cookie too. Yeah, it holds a
No
cookie in
way.
there. Yeah.
That is awesome. We might need a new good cup, chat. We might need a new good cup. Okay, let's put this up here. Let's talk about this. Bob Iger planned to step down as Disney CEO before his contract expires at the end of this year. So his contract ends December 31st of 2026, the end of this year. But it might be, at least according to the leaks and rumors, his time might be over in a couple weeks. Not months, not years, weeks. This would have sounded crazy to me a couple months ago if it wasn't for the fact that we just got a crazy leadership change at Lucasfilm, where Kathleen Kennedy and I guess stepped down, and Dave Filoni has now taken the role of CEO, or I guess co-CEO with Lin-Manuel Brennan. Now, I got to do this again because, you know, what the hell? New York Post, I think it was. Now I'm not going to do it because I don't even know who it was, but get rid of your paywalls. Jesus Christ. Okay. According to the Wall Street Journal, Bob Iger has told those close to him at Disney that he plans to pull back from daily matters before he, of course, retires. So it might not be that he officially retires until the end of the year, but he will not be the working CEO come next month. Now, this all, you know, comes in a weird time for Disney. It's been, since COVID happened, they've had a lot of quote-unquote bombs in the box office. Not more so on the Star Wars side of things, but yes, more so on Pixar and their animation side of things. And even Marvel has had some hiccups, if you will. But 2026 looks like a great year for Star Wars, Marvel, and Disney in general. Toy Story 5, Spider-Man, Avengers, and The Mandalorian and Grogu. So, at least from a box office perspective, it looks like a really, really great year. Now, I won't, again, bother you with reading this whole thing because that's my voice, and we don't want to read it. But let's talk about the two best options here. So the first one being Josh D'Amaro. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't even know. But Josh D'Amaro is right now the chairperson of Walt Disney Parks and Resorts. So he's the parks guy. He's the guy who's in charge of the parks. And as a Star Wars fan, you know, the parks are a really big part of Star Wars, or I guess Star Wars is a really big part of the parks. So I'm sure, you know, he would be a lot more on the Star Wars side of things. But here's the overview according to Google. Josh D'Amaro is an American businessman who has served as the chairman of Disney Experiences since 2020. Prior, he was employed by the Walt Disney Company for 22 years in roles specialized in the company's resorts sector. So he's been with the company for over 8 years. 22 years before 2020, 28 years. So he's been with the company for quite a long time, much like a Dave Filoni sort who's been with the company for a really, really long time. Now, so that's our first option. We'll get to the second in a second, but what do we think about this? Chat, do we think this is a good choice for new CEO of Disney? And Jimmy, what do we think?
Well, is this the guy that was in charge of like the Halcyon? Is this
Great
his
question.
handiwork, or Is he the reason that it's cheaper to fly? I'm not trying to be negative, but is he the reason it's cheaper to fly to Japan and go to Disney World than it is for me to fly down to Florida or to California? Like,
Yeah.
that makes me nervous.
Yes.
Um, for people and families who want to go to these parks, because now he's in charge of everything. Um, but I mean, if he's been with the company that long, looking at his resume, it's hard. I mean, who knows? He could be the perfect guy for it, but if he's been in the business that long, um, maybe I don't running the parks and then running the entire thing with television and all that. I can't even imagine that job. Like, that makes my head hurt
Yeah.
wanting to think about being in charge of that. It takes a special kind of person, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about these types of people,
Yeah. Yeah.
these um but I mean, he has the experience. He's got almost 30 years at Disney. Um, I was reading an article in Los Angeles Times, and they say it's not just as easy as replacing Bob Iger, though, because there's all these other people internally that if you don't bring them up, they're going to want to leave. And they had happened in 2015. And they brought a guy in. Well, they brought a guy in to replace Iger in 2015, and that guy left in 2016 because Iger was still in charge. And then when they brought Chapek in, they had people leave. So they've got to worry about all those people too. So I guess it depends on how much, everyone around likes Josh, if he's a leader of men and women
Yeah.
that can pull all these people together. And I mean, how would we ever know that?
You're right on the nose. I would say the exact same thing. I don't know Josh at all. I don't know him at all. But I would have said the same thing about Bob Iger. Like, you don't know these people. So when it comes from a Star Wars perspective, we knew Dave Filoni. We've known his work. We know how he was the perfect choice for the role. We know all that. When it comes to a guy like this, we don't have much to go off of. And the CEO of Disney, at least just to me personally, his only role to me is to just okay Star Wars projects. Like, that's all I care about. That's literally all I care
Green
about.
stamp it, stamp
Yeah,
it. Yes.
just yes, 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 yes. Anything that Dave Filoni puts across your desk, you give it the okay. Um, and clearly that's not the case with Bob Iger, because he said no to the Hunt for Ben Solo, and God knows what else he said no to. So I guess, again, not knowing anything, I think a switch up is it's like getting a new coach in football. I think Nick on Star Wars Jedi Chat podcast talks about this all the time, but it's like you kind of just got to mix it up. Bob Iger's not working. Like, it's just not.
Well,
People have been asking for him to be out for forever. And especially with the Hunt for Ben Solo stuff, as Star Wars fans, it was the biggest bummer to see Adam Driver's on board to come back. They spent Lucasfilm loved it. Kathleen Kennedy loved it. Dave Filoni loved it. They spent $3 million on a script that was fully finished. They were ready to film, and then Bob Iger says no. So as a Star Wars fan, that just leaves a horrible taste in my mouth. And
yeah.
anybody who, like, just for me personally, if Josh or uh, who we're about to talk about in a second, comes in and one of the first things they do is okay the Hunt for Ben Solo, I'm there. Round of applause, standing ovation. I'm 100% there for it. But as you said, we don't know nearly anything about these people because it's, I guess, not our job to. All we know is that he's been in charge of the parks for 5 years or 6 years, and he's been with the company for 28 years.
And I think sometimes people forget about these relationships too. Like, I don't want to get, too into the weeds, but if you've got a new president, a new co-president, and now you're going to have a new head of, I mean, that's a lot of relationships that have to be established,
Yeah.
because how does that work? Is Josh going to be like, it's my way or the highway, and he's not going to listen? Like, I'm the boss, obviously a good leader listens to the people that are in these positions. And, but yeah, I'm concerned. I think it is time for as a Steelers fan. I've just gone through this with change in coaching. It's
Mhm.
time, and I don't want to get too much into that. But I love Tomlin. Did think his message was getting old, so maybe this is the same kind of thing where, like, Bob, I feel like for the most part, up until this Ben Solo thing, most Star Wars fans were indifferent, because we
Yep.
got the stuff we got. But I would be curious as to what these relationships are like. And again, this is the stuff that I wish we knew. I wish we could get a look behind the scenes where they could be like, oh, that this guy, people love him. He's a leader and he listens to all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I feel like these people are more like the Empire. They got like stab each other in the back to climb to the top, and that makes me
Yeah.
nervous.
Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. All right, now let's go to our second, and I guess the second most likely option, which right here is Dana, I believe. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess Dana. Dana Walden. Now, Dana Walden is is an American businesswoman and co-chairman of Disney's Entertainment. She currently serves as a member of the President's Export Council. Okay, so co-chairman of Disney's Entertainment. So on the one side you got the parks guy, on the other side you got the co-chairman of Disney Entertainment. So I guess honestly, if I were just looking based off of their job titles, I'd say she's the better option because she's in charge of entertainment in all entertainment, or at least a co-chairman of all entertainment at Disney. And this guy's just in charge of the parks, which is only one aspect of the business, and she's in charge of a lot more than that. But again, I don't really know much about either of these people. These are just the two best options that are given to us that are the two most likely to take over the role. So I guess, again, Jimmy, I asked the same question. What do we think?
Yeah, you kind of would have to. I'd have to agree with you. If she has that position and she's been making those decisions, or it affects more than just parks, then you would think that she has more experience, and it would make probably an easier transition for her to be taking over if she's worked with Bob,
Yeah,
more closely, kind of knows how they. I mean, obviously, he's not going to just be like, "All right, I'm done. That's it." Like he's going to, like they're going to hand, and they probably already who know who it is, and it's just they've been working together or
yeah,
whatever. But she does seem like with her role at Disney right now that it would make a little bit more sense for this, but we're looking at it from our point of view. You have to look at it. I was reading this article from LA Times, and at 2020, I think their stock prices were at like at $200, and now it's 111. They don't care about Star Wars movies. They care about making money. So
yeah,
she may be the best person for us because we're like, oh, entertainment, let's go. But
yeah.
Josh is going to be the guy who's going to bring that stock price up and
True.
make and do and that's I hate the fact that it's all about money because that just ruins the fun of it. But I think from the sounds of it, she'd be the one I would like if I mean, knowing nothing about these human beings, given
Yeah.
her position, yeah, let's go with Dana. But I feel like Josh is probably going to get it because it's all about money.
Yeah, I mean, I could not agree with you more. I don't know these two people. I would never have known them before again today, but it seems to me that the CEO of Disney, the only impact that they have to me personally, again, is okaying Star Wars content. And either way, whoever they choose is going to get absolutely shit on for the next 30 plus years or whatever it is, just as Bob Iger was, just as Kathleen Kennedy was. It comes with the job. But again, we won't know until we see it. We don't know who's the better option until we get it. And yeah, it's all about money from a Disney perspective. It's all what is it? It's taking care of the stockholders and all that. So that's sadly how it is. But from a Star Wars fan perspective, it doesn't really matter to me as long as the next person who's in charge is not holding back Star Wars content from the fans. Because I
Mm.
know Kathleen Kennedy got a lot of crap for all these cancellations of projects over the last couple of years and whatever, all the movies being canceled or postponed. And now what's coming to light is that it wasn't really her fault for the majority of them. It was more on the Disney side of things. So as much as Disney can stay out of the affairs of Lucasfilm, I'm okay with that. That's what I want.
Yeah, it does open up your eyes though to people who bash Cat. And I'm not. I'm on the fence with her. Like everything I love about Star Wars since Disney merger, she's responsible for, and the things that I don't like, she's responsible for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that if the hunt for Ben Solo did anything, it should have given her a little bit of grace in Star Wars fans' eyes because now we
Yeah.
see that like some of this stuff is out of her hands, and everyone has a boss. and you know, you've got to answer to them, and you may not always
True.
like what they have to say. So, and they see things
Absolutely.
from a different perspective, right? She's worried about, and I always do this analogy with teachers. When teachers leave to become principals, they're no longer educators or business people in education. You know, they're worried about, they're worried about the budgets and things like that. And so at every level you go up, it's different concerns, so
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's always going to be a level of hatred towards whoever gets the role, gets the position, and even as the president of Lucasfilm. I mean, Dave Filoni, as you're going to see over the course of specifically this year, because it's going to be his first year in power, you're going to see him get a lot of crap. If
Mhm.
Maul Shadow Lord doesn't perform well, if The Mandalorian and Grogu doesn't perform well, if Ahsoka Season 2 doesn't perform well, if anything goes wrong, it's immediately destroy Dave Filoni and his entire career online. Like, that'll be exactly how it happens. And that's just what comes with the job. It's kind of sad that that's how the internet works nowadays, but
The worst.
it's the worst. But I will say 2026 is giving Dave Filoni the best possibility for success because from a fan perspective, 2025, it was a good year. Not a great year. It was a good year. Andor Season 2 was a masterpiece. Like, it was just perfection. Loved it. But that was the only live action project last year. The animated stuff was good. We got Tales of the Underworld. I guess we got the tail end of Skeleton Crew last year too,
Mhm.
which was live action, and that was good. But 2025 was sort of an off year, not in terms of the content being bad, but the amount of content, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then when you look at 2020, even 2024, you had The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, the two live action projects, and The Acolyte was this crazy divide in the Star Wars fandom. But when you look at 2026, the setup that Dave Filoni has for his first year as co-president, it's a pretty good setup. Maul Shadow Lord looks to be really, really good. The Mandalorian and Grogu, I'm really excited for. Ahsoka Season 2, we just talked about for an hour because it's going to be mind-blowingly awesome. So they've set him up for success, at least in his first year. At least I hope.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised she's stepping down before that. Like, I thought it was gonna be after Mando and Grogu because she could kinda, like, go off in this, like, ride off into the sunset. Like, "Look what I've done." I know she's still working with it, and she's still working behind the scenes, but, yeah, I mean, I think Dave I do think I don't know, I know you talked about that article where she had her exit interview basically, and I felt like she kind of, like, threw Lin-Wen and Dave under the bus a little bit, like, "All these projects are here. If they don't make them, it's their fault now, not mine anymore." But having
Yeah.
said that, 2026, like you said, all the things that we're getting, I mean, if they hit, just just make half the fan base happy, then yeah, he's going to come in as a rock star. He'll get some credit that he'll need because he will have some bumps in the road because not everything he's going to do is going to be perfect regardless of how well he knows Star Wars, you
True.
know. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think you're absolutely right that they have set him up to be great there, but I also think that, like, her saying all these things are just sitting there ready to be made, kind of, I don't know, almost kind of threw them under their bus on her way out. It was a really
Yes.
weird, exit interview, in my opinion.
Yes and no. I mean, she's gonna stick on as a producer, so she's gonna produce on all those movies. But I agree with you. It was sort of like if these movies don't get made, it's not my fault anymore.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that's kind of true.
It was
I
weird
I
for her to
still
even mention some of that stuff to me,
yeah.
like, on her way out.
Well, I think it was a good thing for us as Star Wars fans to hear
Oh,
an
yeah.
update on all those
Keep
different
that up.
movies. But like you said, though, she could have stayed on for another year. She could have taken The Mandalorian and Grogu as a win for her, but I think they know that it's going to be a win, so they want to give it to Dave first so that he's set up in the best possible way. Like, they want
Yeah.
him to succeed in the role, and in doing so, they really want to give him a couple wins to start off. Like, they don't want to just throw him in the trenches and be like, "Good
It
luck."
could it could be awesome. He could have I mean, he could come out of this, like, walking on water.
Yeah.
For Star Wars fans for the most part. There are obviously going to be people out there that are not going to like stuff, but for the majority of it, he could be in a real good position because he is going to be the face of it. Lin Wen's going to like you said before, like she's going to kind of be behind the scenes, it seems like. So he will be the face. He'll be the one who gets the tomatoes thrown at him and whatnot. So
Yeah, that's very true. And somebody in the chat said, "Let Mike run it." No, I don't want to be the
yeah, let's
CEO of
go.
Disney. Never would want to do that. That would be horrible. Um, I only talk about Star Wars. I don't even know the first thing about doing anything except for barely even starting a live stream. You should have seen me trying to get Jimmy on this thing. It was a process.
Hey, you figured it out, man. You figured it out.
Yeah,
It's all
that's
good.
true. We're here. We did
We're
it.
here.
We did it. We did it.
Some growing pains. It's good. It's good.
Yes, a little bit. But that's the latest and greatest when it comes to Bob Iger. He could be out by a couple weeks from now, and we could be getting a new CEO of Disney, which does, in a way, affect us as Star Wars fans. So let's switch gears a little bit here to the Rey movie news, because Daisy Ridley gave an update on this movie, and it's a promising update, but it makes me think that they're working on something in the background here that we just don't know about yet. But let's just start with what she had to say, and let's start with this, and let's start with the poll. So, by the way, 61% of you guys think that he will be retiring next month, which I agree with you. Do you think the Rey movie will be made? Yes or no? There's been this huge, I guess, conversation, argument, whatever you want to call it, in the Star Wars fandom that a lot of people don't think that this movie will even get made at this point. I mean, it's been postponed a million times. It was announced a year or 2.5 years ago,
Ooh,
almost
yeah,
3 years ago. Yeah, in 2023. So it's been a while. And that has led to fans going, this movie will never happen. But I think something has changed behind the scenes. And it's not necessarily for, something funny, Jimmy? Did I
No,
say something?
nothing.
Oh,
No,
okay,
you're
okay.
good. You're good.
It's not necessarily, a bad thing. We'll put it that way. Okay, so let's talk about what Daisy Ridley had to say. She was on in an interview, again promoting a new movie. She seems like she's in a bunch of movies that she's always promoting and always being asked about Star Wars. But when she was asked about the Star Wars movie and when she will return to the galaxy far, far away, she said, I don't know when it will be on screen, but certainly sooner rather than later. Now, the latest and greatest that we've heard about the Rey movie was that it will start filming in April of this year, which we've heard nothing of that sort. At least that was months and months and months ago, and now nothing has come out to confirm that. However, in 2025, we had the filming of Starfighter. In 2024, we had the filming of The Mandalorian and Grogu. So it's likely that a Star Wars movie will film this year. What will that Star Wars movie be? Possibly the Rey movie. Possibly Dave Filoni's movie, but that seems unlikely before Ahsoka Season 2 happens. Maybe James Mangold's movie, but again, seems very unlikely. So, to me, the most likely one would be the Rey movie. And this rumor of it starting filming in April, maybe that's a little too early, but at some point in this year, we're going to have to have a Star Wars movie get filmed for it to at least reach a release date of either December 2027 or, again, the following year in 2028. Now, before we dive into what I kind of think is happening here behind the scenes, what is your take on this whole Rey movie thing, Jimmy?
Oh man, I think with the change in leadership, again, I'm neutral on Kathleen Kennedy. I do think she
Yeah.
had an agenda, right? Like there's certain things she wanted to do and wanted to give people opportunities to do. I think with the shift of leadership, Dave and Simon Kinberg, I mean, from what it seems like, they've worked together a lot on things, and I honestly believe there was probably a fight for Ray between Simon and Charmine, and I think Simon's probably going to win this one. I think Daniel Rickman was leaking some stuff about Simon won the battle for Ray, and that trilogy is going to star her, but she's going to be like an Obi-Wan Kenobi figure, which I think is a little early for her to be becoming Obi-Wan Kenobi. Well, they need some more stuff, but I do think that she's the next person. The next movie coming out will probably be her. They've got a plan for a trilogy with Simon Kinberg, and I don't know if the Charmine thing is dead in the water or not. I mean, we've seen this a lot where all this hype about stuff, and then it just doesn't happen for whatever reason. But my personal feeling is that Simon kind of won that battle with his connections with Dave, and his storytelling, I think, would probably fit Dave's a little bit better. But they also had to get Daisy in on this too, because she's a producer on this now too, so she has some stake in this as well. But that's kind of where I imagine it happens. I'm fine either way. Like, I don't care who makes the movie. I just want more Rey. I want more time with Rey. I've been singing this and saying this. Like, I hated Ahsoka when she was Snips in the Clone Wars movie, and now I have her tattooed on my body because we spent so much time with her, and we got to grow up with her. We got to see her grow up, make mistakes, and all this stuff. We need more of that with Rey. And I think that away from the sequel trilogy, she could be what Star Wars kind of is able to like build around in that time period. I mean, and I'm gonna hop off my soapbox now, but yeah, so I do think that with more time with her done right, I think that's where we're headed.
I literally could not agree with you more. I think the character of Rey is very much, and again, going back to the Ahsoka analogy that you had, Ahsoka, even Luke Skywalker in A New Hope or Omega in the first season of The Bad Batch, like all these characters, they start out as whiny little babies. Uncle Owen, this droid is a bad motivator, and then he becomes the greatest Jedi in the whole universe. So, like, you have to go through a character arc and character development. And to me, I love the comments of the sequel trilogy needs to be retconned, needs to be remade. That's never gonna happen because first of all, they made billions of dollars, but second of all, these characters specifically are loved. Rey, Kylo, whatever, are loved by millions upon millions of Star Wars fans. So many kids were introduced to Star Wars with the sequel trilogy, and their favorite character for some is Kylo Ren or is Rey or is anybody. So that'll never happen. However, I am of the mind, because there's problems that I have with the sequel trilogy left, right, and center, but I'm of the mind that all of those problems can be fixed. A lot of my issues come from Luke Skywalker and where he ends up on Arc 2. But with the Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show, showing Kylo Ren's downfall, or fall to the dark side, I guess, it's like watching the original trilogy, which I wasn't alive to do, but watching the original trilogy without having watched the prequels, without knowing or ever seeing Anakin's fall to the dark side. You just meet Vader, and that's it. But even more so with the sequel trilogy, because in the originals, you meet Obi-Wan. He's an old hermit. He's just hanging out on Tatooine. Yoda, not helping anybody, not doing anything. He's just hanging out on Dagobah. That's exactly what Luke's doing. Did people have a problem with it in 1977 and 1980 and 1983? No. But because it's the sequel trilogy, because we didn't get the prequels to the sequels, we didn't get the Anakin Skywalker's fall to the dark side. We didn't get Order 66. We didn't get Yoda in his prime and Obi-Wan, or I guess not in his prime, but Obi-Wan in his prime. We don't have that for these characters, and that would help the sequels so much. When it comes to Rey as a character, the only place you can do that for her would be after the sequels. The way you make her character better is by giving her incredible stories post-sequels, giving her her own Jedi Order. Like, all of that stuff would make her character specifically so much better. And to your point about Simon Kinberg, that's where I think this is going. I think Simon Kinberg's trilogy is the next Star Wars trilogy, if in fact The Mandalorian and Grogu is not the first of a trilogy. But our first actual official announced trilogy would be Simon Kinberg's. And I think this sooner rather than later update from Daisy Ridley is that this is already in the works. This has already been planned. And Simon Kinberg's trilogy, as Kathleen Kennedy gave us the update on her exit interview, has already gotten its what's the word she used?
Treatment or whatever, I think.
Treatment, yes, thank you. Treatment for the entire trilogy. The problem with the sequels was there was too many minds at work.
Oh.
You go from J.J. Abrams to Rian Johnson and back to J.J. Abrams, and it's this bouncing off of two different minds that have different ideas for these characters. When Simon Kinberg, the guy who co-created Rebels, is making a whole trilogy treatment by himself, right? Probably with some other writers, but it's one mind doing the whole thing. You're not going to have that. You're going to have a cohesive story from start to finish with characters that go on arcs throughout the entire story. That does not mean that Simon Kinberg is directing a single episode. So I agree with Jimmy, but I'm adding a little bit of a twist. I think Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy will be the director of the first film.
Oh, nice.
I think she will be
That's an
making her
awesome
movie.
idea.
She'll make the Rey movie, but it won't probably be called the Rey movie. And it will be Rey as the mentor. I don't think she'll be an Obi-Wan level because Obi-Wan dies in the first movie and he's not like, he just teaches Luke a few things. He's not that big a character
Mhm.
in A New Hope. Like, he's a main character, yes, but he's not like anywhere close to Luke, Leia, or Han. So I think she'll have more of a role than Obi-Wan did, and she'll last more than one movie. But, and it can be something new, because we've been talking about new and improved, something new and different than what came before. But she will have her own Jedi Order. Hopefully Finn will be involved.
Yes.
Why not bring back Ben Solo while you're at it? A lot of this delay for this movie might be because they are waiting for Bob Iger to leave and get the okay to do the hunt for Ben Solo. Because if you're gonna make a trilogy and Ben Solo's gonna be there, you're gonna have to explain how that's possible, and that's where the hunt for Ben Solo would come into play. So I agree with you. I think Simon Kinberg's trilogy is going to absorb the Rey movie, and I think Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy might come over with it. And even if she doesn't, then that's fine. But I don't think Rey will be the main character of the movie. She will be a main character, but not the. And it'll be a new Jedi Order, something new and beyond the sequels. Now, my question to you, Jimmy, and to the chat as well, is: do you think the Simon Kinberg trilogy and or the Rey movie will be connected to Starfighter? Because they've been talking about how Starfighter is supposed to be brand new characters, no legacy characters, blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't mean that it's not setting up the future and setting up Kinberg's trilogy.
How could you have Flynn Gray's character, Force sensitive, 5 years after Tross, and not have Rey, like have that? I think it's I mean, I don't know if she shows up, but maybe she's, they're gonna be talking about this Jedi Order or something there, someplace they need to get them. And I think it's gonna be where she's at. I mean, it would make I've always thought this too, because you make this separate movie. Everyone loves Ryan Gosling. He's Knuff, and maybe he'll sing for us. Who knows? And you have this great, amazing movie, lightsaber battles directed by Tom Cruise. I mean, who doesn't want that? And then, at the end, it's like a handoff to Rey or someone who works for Rey. And then in the next movie, you see that character they handed Flynn Gray off to coming in, and he's part of this new Jedi Order or something. I absolutely think it would be crazy, and it would be the same mistake they've made in the sequel trilogy, not to have these things connect a little bit. People love those connections. It doesn't have to be massive. Just think how excited you get when you hear someone's name, or like when we heard Quinlan Voss's name in Kenobi, like we lost our minds,
Yeah.
and it's all you need to do. You don't have to slap us across the face with it. You just have to kind of mention it so we know, like, when that next movie, we're going to see Flynn Gray again. They said he's an awesome little actor, which is exciting. So, yeah, I absolutely think they're going to tie in. I think it would be insane not to. I think this gives, again, if the Ben Solo stuff too, like you could really set Ray up for success, Daisy Ridley up for success if you have Starfighter, you have the hunt for Ben Solo, and all kind of comes into this, and everyone's feeling good. We get more time with her. There's other characters. We get to see her stumble a little bit. I think
Yeah.
this is absolute gold mine, and I love your idea of Charmine coming in and directing that, and maybe they take what she had, her treatment or her movie idea, and that's the beginning of this Simon Kinberg thing, because that way everyone's happy. We still get that. I love that idea too. That never even really crossed my mind, to
Yeah.
be honest with you. So I love that idea, and I just think people love those connections. As we get older, as a history teacher, kids hate history because they don't get
Yeah.
the connections.
Yeah.
Every parent that comes in to see me, I know I didn't really like history when I was a kid, but I love it now. I'm like, because you're
Yeah.
older and you appreciate it, and so do Star Wars fans. So yeah, absolutely, I'm fired up right now. Like it's the
Yeah.
idea of all that being connected and just this handoff to some Jedi we don't know yet, but we see again in Rey movie, be phenomenal.
Well, let me I guess, get you more fired up.
Uh-oh.
Imagine at the end of Starfighter, as you said, somebody is handed Flynn Gray. Like Ryan Gosling does his job, protects the kid, and then hands him off. Maybe it's not Rey, but maybe it's Finn. Like
Oh,
John Boyega
that'd
shows
be
up at the end.
awesome.
Or maybe, and it would be like the craziest thing ever, is they don't tell us, but at the end of the movie, he hands him off to Ben Solo. And
Oh
it's
my
Adam
gosh.
Driver. And then, like, at the end of the credits, it says Adam Driver will return or something in Hunt for Ben Solo. Or, like they announced the Hunt for Ben Solo right after the release of Starfighter because they've brought Adam Driver back. Like, that would be so unbelievably cool. That would get the fandom. Like, you want the fandom cooking up theories and doing all this stuff.
Yes.
And the way you do that is with this crazy ending for that movie. I honestly think that Starfighter, because they say how it's not connected to anything or whatever, I think it's the Rogue One to the original trilogy, but Rogue One came out after the original trilogy, of
Mhm.
course. But it's the perfect segue into the original trilogy. The last scene of Rogue One is like right into the first scene of A New Hope. So I think you could get a very similar story here where Starfighter's last scene goes right into the Kimberg trilogy, and instead of Rogue One coming out after, Starfighter comes out first and sets up the trilogy. Because you want to set up these characters for success. And as you mentioned, the last taste in fans' mouths of Rey and all these other sequel characters is the Rise of Skywalker, which for most is not a good taste. So you want to set them up for the most likely chance of success. And if Starfighter's the way to do it, then that might be the right way to do it. Because if it's of the same level as Rogue One, which is like a top 3 Star Wars
Oh
movie
my
for
god.
me personally,
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
I mean, and it would show us that they've learned a little bit. You know, we all know they made a mistake by not having a plan for the sequel trilogy, and
Yep,
I feel like Daisy Ridley and Ray took the brunt of that, just with
absolutely.
but here's your chance to say like, no, she's a good character. Now prove it with a connected trilogy, like you said, kind of feeding in maybe from one or two other movies. And you could the whole narrative around her could change. And of course, there's going to be people out there because there's people who don't like her for the very wrong reasons, right?
Yeah,
But those people aren't going to change their minds. But
no,
you could get 75% of the fandom on board just by having a connected story. You know, they did, and I don't know, I always bring up the High Republic, but the High Republic is so interconnected from books and comics, even the television show with the Young Jedi Adventures. Like they planned it out and it worked and it's beautiful. And you can do that. And you've got Kevin Feige right across the hall, probably like, oh, this is how I did it. You know, like you've got the resources. I just think it could be so good, and it would be a really cool Star Wars story in and itself, just to kind of save that character and show that she is really a good character. And it was kind of, I don't really don't think she bears the brunt of the discommunication between JJ and Ryan. And they can
yeah,
say whatever they want to say about each other's movies, but they did not like them. They are not the same kind of filmmaker,
yeah,
and they could not be, I mean, more opposite, really.
yeah.
So, and again, different directors, but if you already have the trilogy and the treatment, you know where the story is going. Like to not make a just a outline of where you wanted the sequel trilogy to go seems insane.
It is. It really is. And what's funny to me though is you brought it up again is the High Republic. The High Republic is exactly what everything from here on out should be like based off of. They had it planned out from the beginning. They got the best writers in a room, planned it out from start to finish, did 3 trilogies or 3 phases
Mhm.
and told the whole story in order. Well, I guess out of order because they went middle, then prequels, whatever. But either way, they had it planned from the beginning, and it was a great story from what I hear. Again, I've
Oh,
not
it's
read all of it,
phenomenal.
but it's a great story from start to finish because they had it planned out and it was ready to go. That should be the template for everything moving forward for the Kimberg trilogy, for the Mandoverse, for when we eventually get to the Old Republic, Dawn of the Jedi. Everything should be planned out beforehand. And the fact that we now have Dave Filoni in charge, the guy who talks about his whiteboards all the time with all these lines intersecting, I feel like we're at a place where the sequel trilogy is almost like the bullet that we had to bite just to get
Mhm.
everything connected moving forward. Because George Lucas, because he was the guy who created this whole thing, was able to just do it. Like, he didn't have a plan from the beginning for the original trilogy, or maybe he did for the prequels, but for the original trilogy, he was just winging it. I mean, they kiss at the beginning of the movie, and they're brother and sister in the next one. Okay, but that's like he didn't intend for Vader to be his father in the very beginning, and then of course he does, and then all of that. But he can pull that off because he's the guy who created the thing, and it was the first go around with it, and it's a different time now, whatever. It's almost as if the sequel trilogy needed to fail that badly so that Star Wars can live to fight another day. Now, the sequel trilogy, again, as I said earlier, can be fixed in a lot of different ways by adding content before and after. But moving forward, everything should be planned out beforehand and all this other stuff, as we see with Kimberg and all that greatness. We did get a super chat here, Jimmy, and I
see it. I see it.
Okay. It says, impression time, 50 Thunder, I appreciate it. $5 holla, I appreciate that quite a bit. It says, Mike and Jimmy, could you both do an I Am Your Father and a No scene, please? I'm not familiar with the scene.
That happens in Star Wars somewhere?
Yeah, what? You gotta be more specific about that. I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means. I don't know. No.
I get to be Vader.
Okay, you can be Vader. I'll do it. Ready?
Yeah. I am your father.
No! That's impossible!
Join me.
That was great. Okay. I appreciate it, 50 Thunder. As of course, you guys know, super chats, memberships, keep the lights on over here. And yeah, make for great content, I suppose. Okay. So we talked about all that stuff. Now, okay. Let's talk a little bit of Maul Shadow Lord since we got you here. We've talked about a lot of things today, but Maul Shadow Lord is the most upcoming, and I'm dying to know your thoughts about it. What you think of the trailer? Where's your excitement level at? And of course, the prequel comic and all that. So let's start first, just scale of 1 to 10, and we'll ask everybody in the chat too. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Maul Shadow Lord?
20.
Really?
I can't wait for this.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to let Sam Witwer, he's been brewing on this stuff. We've got to see him at Rebel ScumCon talking about it and some stuff off the air as well. And he's just, his input, we know what kind of Star Wars fan he is. I mean, this guy was winning like, the Schmodown and trivia contests and things like that before he's like super famous. And then you got him and Dave, and you got this, and that trailer was nuts.
Yeah, it was.
I sit there and I think to myself, the argument's always, well, Star Wars for kids. That trailer did not look like something I want my kids watching. I mean, I put violent AF in my notes when Charlie and I broke it down after it came out. That was my first note, violent AF. I was like, but I think this is going to be phenomenal. And then we got some awesome news from the writer of what's the comic is the Shadow of Maul, I think, or I can't remember exactly what it's called, but how they're going to tie in together. I am super excited. I'm a little bummed it's not starting. The only thing I was mad about was the release date. That was about the only thing I did the whole for was the release date. Some of it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So. Well, we're seeing a lot of hype in the chat. You said 20 out of 10. We got 10 pluses. We got 10, 25, 10, 6.9, of course, 10, 66. The hype for this show has gone through the roof since the trailer dropped. Like, people who weren't really excited are now really, really excited. And that's, again, just the power of marketing, I suppose. But you're absolutely right. That trailer was so unbelievably cool, got me so much more hyped for that show than I ever could have possibly imagined. I knew that they were going to do this young Twilight girl who could possibly be a Darth Talon type, whatever. But to add the prequel comic too, like we just talked about, things being connected, things being planned out. They have a prequel comic for a animated series. Like we haven't seen something like this happen. Usually when they do, like, they're doing a Bad Batch comic spinoff now, years after the show ended. Like, they planned this. They knew that they had a win with Maul Shadow Lord. And they wanted to get ahead of it, give a prequel series, all that other great stuff. So it's really, really cool to see. Now, you did kind of mention it, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What do you think of the release schedule? The 2 episodes per week, 10 episodes?
as a fan, I'm excited not to have to get one episode. I thought I was going to be the usual
Yeah.
2 episodes the first day, and then we're going to get like one. And because I want to stretch out a little bit, because if there's rumors that Ahsoka's not coming out till September or later than that, then
Yep.
there's going to be some downtime after Mando and Grogu. But as a fan, yeah, give me 2 episodes a week. That's awesome. It bums me out a little bit because I think this signals no Tales of on May the 4th.
Yeah.
But I kind of wonder why it's overlapping with Star or not Starfire, but Mando and Grogu as well. Like that was kind of weird to me that it's going to be overlapping. Like it's going to be releasing simultaneous. I know that's a movie, but you would think
Well,
they'd
no,
want
it's
to
not.
keep. It's not because it's.
No, so it's 2 episodes per week, 10 episodes, so it goes from April 6th to May the 4th. May the 4th is the finale.
Oh, that's right, because it comes out in the end of May. So yeah, okay. Well then, yeah, that's fine. I think the thing is that I think it signals we're not getting a Tales of, and like again,
Yeah.
but that's the only negative. Again, like I'm not sitting here
Yeah.
like boo hoo.
Yeah.
I love Tales of, but yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. Getting 2 episodes a week. I wonder why they wouldn't have start it sooner and stretch it out for 10 weeks or
Yeah.
9 weeks and just keep that hype train going and just keep everyone engaged a little bit. Maybe they learned a little bit from Andor season 1 where they had these slow grinding episodes, but from that trailer, I don't feel like there's going to be a minute to breathe.
No.
So, but yeah, I mean,
It
I'm here for it. Let's go.
Yeah. No, I agree. At first, I was like, "This is weird, the 2 episode a week thing. It's not like anything we've ever really done." We did it with Andor, but it was different. Um, but I think, honestly, I think they know that this show is gonna be very successful, um, as an animated series can as much as an animated series can be, because Maul's a very fan favorite character in the
Mhm.
animation side of things. It's gotten a lot of hype, and it's like you're comparing it to the last animated series that we got, which is The Bad Batch. And The Bad Batch was great, don't get me wrong, but it's not like Maul. We're not
Mhm.
talking about Darth Maul. So I think the hype for that show is going to be there, and honestly, the 2 episodes per week might get it on those weekly Nielsen charts and stuff where they want to be at, which will help them. And I think the late release schedule of April might be because of other stuff. For example, right now for Marvel, Wonder Man just came out. I believe
Mm.
Daredevil Born Again comes out pretty soon,
Yeah, that's
season
true.
2 of that. So they might not want to overlap with their other properties,
Yeah.
which is a possibility, but I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like that would make sense. I mean, I know I saw a preview for I didn't see the trailer for Daredevil 2 yet, but I guess that would make a lot of sense not to want those competing with each other. But they have even had like Mando and Bad Batch coming out in this at the same time. So,
Yes.
but if they are slowing down on that thing and Uncle Bob slowed things down, they're going to want to keep new content, so that would make a ton of sense. They don't have these things overlapping one another. And a lot of people are going to watch Marvel, going to watch Star Wars, So I mean, I'm here for it. I
Yeah.
love Daredevil stuff, so I'll be watching that.
I agree. I love the first season of Daredevil Born Again and the first 3 seasons
Oh,
on
those
Netflix.
Netflix episodes were
Is so good.
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. But getting back on the Star Wars, I honestly think, and it might sound really crazy, but we just talked about the Rey movie and how the rumor was it was supposed to start filming in May. I mean, sorry, in April. What if this is like to cover up the fact that they're starting filming? Like, what if they want to keep it a
Mm,
secret that they're filming something else, so they just try to push something else at the same time?
distract us. Look over
Distractions.
here.
Yeah. Um, but as you said, like they had the Bad Batch and Mando crossover before. I don't think we'll ever see that again because you have 52 weeks in a year. You want to have it spread out so that people are getting as much Star Wars content as much as possible
Yeah.
throughout those 52 weeks. And to overlap series like that will be interesting. Or shouldn't happen, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you, because you mentioned Tales, we got Tales of the Underworld last year on May the 4th and Tales of the Empire on May the 4th the year prior. But Tales of the Jedi didn't come out on May the 4th.
No, it was like September or something, wasn't it? Weird.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
the middle of Andor.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So, do you think that we could still get a Tales this year and it's just elsewhere in the year?
Gosh, I hope so. I love
Yeah,
Tales. Like
me
I
too.
love those shorts. I mean, I just think they tell so much. It's impressive to me the storytelling they can do in, these short little snippets of things. But Dave has a lot on his plate right now. So I don't know, but he has Carrie Beck, he has Athena as well. Is her name Athena, right? Athena Portello or whatever.
Yes.
I mean, there's other people running animation, so I mean, quite easily that would be amazing if we got them. Maybe we get shorts. Maybe the Tales of tells us some of the stuff we were asking about for Ahsoka season 2. What if we get a Tales of and it's Balin or it's Shin or something, and it gives us a little bit of. Now that's not fair to people who don't watch that stuff, and you and I talked about that a little bit, but I mean, the whole idea of like fatigue, Star Wars fatigue, is the most asinine thing I've ever heard any Star
Yeah.
Wars fan say to me. If they're making
So
good
crazy.
Star Wars, then I want it. You
Yeah,
know?
that's insane. But to your point too, like Tales of the Empire was probably the the least liked of the tales because it was Morgan Elsbeth and it was Sparazafi. But I personally liked it a lot.
Yeah.
They were just two, I guess, side characters, so to
Mhm.
speak, that people didn't like it as much as Dooku and Ahsoka, or even Asajj and Cad Bane, who are more
Yeah.
prominent characters, which I get. But as you just said, if they did a Shin and Balin one, like that would be awesome. Even for, I feel like for people who aren't big fans of the Ahsoka series, they still find the character of Balin Skull very intriguing, and getting more of that character would be really really cool. Now, I guess my follow up question to you, and again, we're going to get on out of here in a second, but they've done Tales of the Jedi, Empire, and Underworld. Do you think they'll ever go back and do a season 2 of Tales of the Jedi?
I mean, I think that all depends on what stories Dave wants to tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he loves. I mean, I'm shocked we haven't gotten something with Plo Koon. His favorite
Yeah, that's
Jedi. Like, why not? You know, Why not tell us a story about him and Kit Fisto or Eth Koth? Just give us. I mean,
yeah.
there's so many characters you could do. Like, I absolutely think that you could get a season 2 of that. It, the it would be weird as far as like we call it the Tales of. They do Jedi again, or they could name it something like Tales of the Council, or
Yeah.
whatever, like something different like that. Because it would be weird, like Tales of the Jedi Part 2. That seems awkward. But yeah, I think that Dave probably has a ton of little stories. I mean, just think about the stuff with Yaddle, and I mean, I went
Yeah.
from hating Barisofi to being like, "Whoa," like just
Yeah.
my mind blown. I wanted her to get cut down in the first 5 seconds, and that was the end of it. But so, yeah, I think I think someone in the chat says Tales of the Sith. That'd be pretty cool. But
Yeah, there's other options for Tales for sure, but as you mentioned, I don't really foresee them going Tales of the Jedi 2 or Tales of the Jedi Season 2 or Part 2. It just doesn't seem like the way they're going anymore. Because when Tales of the Empire was announced, it was announced as Tales of the Jedi Season 2. That's what we thought we were getting until they dropped the trailer, and that's when they revealed the title is Tales of the Empire. And since then, we've gotten Tales of the Underworld. So even if it is about Bale and Skull, it could be called like Tales of the Survivors or something, or
yeah,
Tales of like it would not be the Jedi, which is interesting. It makes for the ability to do a Tales of the Sith or a Tales of anything really. But yeah, I hope we get one this year because those are awesome.
it's so good, so
Yeah.
good.
But all right, with that, we did talk about a whole slew of things today of all different things across the galaxy, quite literally, and a different galaxy as well. But I do want to take the time to, of course, say a huge, huge thank you for Jimmy for bailing me out with my voice, which, by the way, now 2 hours in sounds a lot better
Yeah, it's been good.
than at least the beginning of the stream. So, Jimmy, I could not thank you enough. This was a huge, huge win. My voice thanks you, and I'm sure the chat thanks you as well. So thank you for coming on and
Absolutely.
promote yourself. So, well, I'll give you a little bit of promotion because I got this.
Hype
But
man.
yes, so if you are not yet already subscribed to the one of the greatest YouTube channels of all time, go do it. Explore the Force on YouTube and all other platforms.
All
Correct?
social media platforms. Yeah.
Yes. So explore the Force all over the place. If you're not yet already tapped in there, you're missing out big time. And not just because I love Jack's accent, but so you give us your rundown of your content. Go for it.
Yeah, so we are kind of a group. We got Jack, we got Charlie, both Brits. Oh, Jack's the funniest sounding Canadian. I always call him now because he's over in Canada. We got the mailman, who's a high school best friend of mine, from way back in the day. And then sometimes Taylor comes back. So we have a kind of a little family group. We do all kinds of stuff. We talk about the books, we talk about the movies, the shows, and just and we're we try to be positive. I mean, that's one of the things that we love about your show, Mike. And I want to say that before I leave is that what a honor it is to be on here. So much fun to talk to you about Star Wars and how like excited I am for you and for someone who's doing it the way you're doing it. You're not selling anger and hate, you're selling the love for Star Wars. And I think more people should appreciate that. So thank you for everything you're doing. And then go check us out on Explore the Force. We've been sitting at like 9,900 people at Instagram for like 2 months. Help get us over that 10K mark.
Yeah, get to that
So, but yeah, we
10K.
cover everything. We do Lego videos. I mean, all kinds of stuff. We're all over the map. We have like
Yeah.
ADHD of Star Wars, I think.
And that's just how it has to be because there's so much going on, you know?
Yeah.
There's too many avenues in the Star Wars universe. Somebody did ask you, what's your favorite phase of the High Republic? You want to
Oh
answer that?
man. Whew, that's a tough one. I really liked phase 2 because I think there's a lot of potential with the Pathfinders, and I know we're getting comics coming out of that. I think that would be an amazing show on Disney Plus to kind of introduce that. You have a new baddie every week or whatever. But phase 2, they kind of go backwards in time with it, and there's some cool storytelling. They left a lot unsaid, but there's a lot of really cool stuff. My favorite book, Catalyst, it comes out of that one. So yeah,
Love it.
or
I've
Cataclysm.
not
Sorry.
tapped into phase 2 yet. I've read through all phase 1. That was many, many moons ago.
It's like
But
27 books if you read all the books. So I mean, it's a lot.
yeah, it's a lot. Well, it's the main books, and then there's the young
Mhm.
adult novels or whatever. So yeah, there's really a lot.
And comics
But
too. Don't
and
forget, there's
comics,
like,
yeah.
I mean, I made a list. It's massive, folks. It can be a little intimidating. And I would say this to anyone who wants to get into it. Light of the Jedi is tough because it introduced so many new characters,
Oh
but
yeah.
give it a chance because as you're going, you'll fall in love with these characters. They do such a great job. And Markion Rowe might be one of the best bad guys. And the
Yeah.
end, I mean, dude is brutal, and there's some stuff that comes on. Like, yeah, I can't sing the praises enough for the High Republic.
It is great how in a time without the Sith, they introduced a villain that was like just as not just as cool, but like just as big a threat,
Almost worse than the Sith in my
Yeah.
mind with his attitude towards the end. Like what he
Yeah.
wants, I don't want to ruin anything, but what he wants is insane. So,
Well,
and
now
you
I'm
don't find
intrigued and I
out.
have to go read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Okay.
got and
But
such great authors and stuff too. So, really
there you
good.
go. But with that, again, appreciate you, Jimmy. I'll just get you out of here so I can do my usual
All
ending
right.
routine, and then I'll bring
Thanks
you
for
back in
having me,
after.
man.
Of course, of course, of course. We're gonna have to do this more often now that I've figured out how to bring a guest on.
Love it.
But all right, I'm gonna kick you up for a sec. I'll bring you after the stream is over. And yeah, everybody say bye to Jimmy.
Bye, Jimmy.
Okay. But with that, smash a freaking like on the stream if you have not already. Hit that subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified every time I post a video, all that great jazz. Thank you guys for dealing with me and my horrible voice. It does sound a lot better now than just even a couple hours ago, so hopefully that means I'm on the up and up. But I appreciate you guys. I really, really do. This was a great stream. Shout out to Jimmy for saving the day. It was awesome. Talking about Ahsoka Season 2 always gets me hyped up. Always makes me feeling better, you know? But yeah, smash a freaking like. Watch out for a short in about an hour, and we'll go from there into February. We are already 1 month down and closer to all of our great Star Wars content coming this year. But until then, may the Force be with you. Always. Oh, yeah. What a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you all so much more than you'll ever know. Do you guys like this guest system that we had going on here? I know I didn't have, it's less of a chance for me to read your chats, which is, I guess, okay in some scenarios, but it's more of a, I get to bounce off an actual human being that speaks back to me. So what do we think of the guests thing? You guys can tell me, and then tell me in the Discord too. If you're not yet in that Discord, there's a link in the description below to a Discord called The People Who Love Star Wars. Go join it immediately. And yeah, hope you have a great rest of your evening, great rest of your lives, and good night. Oh my God. And good night, everybody.